Hi and welcome along to Transfer Daily, the show that takes a look at all of the players linked with a January transfer move to Arsenal. And of course, today, the January transfer window is officially open. And that means that teams like Arsenal can buy players from other teams. But Arsenal have started off with selling a player. I guess you all know by now, Lucas Podolski is on the verge of a move to Inter Milan. It's going to be a season-long loan to begin with, followed by a contract that would take him there for about the next 3 to 4 years, worth about £5 million. Inter Milan previously bid for Podolski and were unsuccessful, but they've got their man now. Podolski has moved, and there's a lot of gunners out there, a lot of gooners out there yesterday that when the news broke, they were very, very disappointed that we've sold Lucas Podolski. A lot of fans think that he's a player that's never really had a proper go, a proper chance at Arsenal. And it's a really hard one because he wasn't getting any game time at Arsenal. Let's face it, if you look at it recently, you know, even with the injuries that we've had to players, Podolski still wasn't figuring. He was only really playing in some of those Champions League games. It's obvious that Arsene Wenger didn't fancy him. He doesn't like the fact that he doesn't carry a lot of work rate to him. He doesn't really protect the back four. Basically, Lucas Podolski really a sort of old school striker, where you know you give him the ball in front of the goal, he can do a lot of damage, but he doesn't really do, you know, that sort of hard working stuff, you know, the chasing back. He's not full of energy and you know, closing defenders down. He's not very quick, and right from the start it just seemed like he never suited Arsenal's system, or he's never really had a chance anyway to prove himself. But he's gone now to Inter Milan. That's literally done. He's just doing his medical today, and he's going to be on his way. And a lot of people asking the question, who is going to replace Lucas Podolski? If anybody is going to replace Lucas Podolski, there's been lots and lots of rumours going around that also looking to bring in Edinson Cavani. There's been these rumours that Edinson Cavani has been very unhappy at the moment at PSG. He's not really, you know, doing it there. I think he scored 7 goals this season, which has been very, very disappointing for a player of his caliber. He doesn't seem to get on with the manager, Laurent Blanc, and there have been rumours that PSG are willing to ship him out for about £50 million. Financial fair play, they've been penalised for it already, and getting him off of the wage bill would significantly, you know, make them in a better shape for financial fair play. However, is Edinson Cavani, number one, worth £50 million? And would Arsene Wenger pay that sort of money for a striker that hasn't really done it for a couple of years? Let's face it, he was considered one of the best in the world at one time, but he hasn't done it for a little while. And in January, that would be a hell of a lot of money to pay for a striker. Or would he go for another player that he's been linked to? And he's Ita Baldi Diao, who plays for Lazio. He'd only be valued at about £15 million. He's 19. He fits the bill for a lot of what Arsene Wenger is after, in that he's a very, very quick player. He's sort of a left-sided player as well, which you know, that would probably be where he'd be more deployed down. And he'd be about £15 million, a lot cheaper than going for Cavani. And we know that Arsene Wenger likes a bargain. Only thing about this player, if you look at him, he's had a bad disciplinary record. Started off his career at Barcelona. They had high hopes of him, but because of his discipline, they shipped him out. He's in Lazio at the moment, and apparently they're not too happy with his discipline. Now, considering that Arsene Wenger was very, very much against taking on Balotelli in the summer because of the same sort of issues, again, this one seems a bit unlikely that he's going to go for Diao, and could be just another one of these sort of agent links for the player because Lazio are looking to get rid of him. The other thing is, how I'm thinking about it, are Arsenal actually going to get a replacement for Lucas Podolski? There was a press conference from Arsene Wenger where he said that, with Mesut Ozil coming back, it's going to be difficult for Podolski to get into the team. So maybe he's going to be looking to go with the two strikers of Giroud and Welbeck. Well, let's face it, we only had really one last year. And then he's going to probably deploy, Mesut Ozil over on the left, or he can deploy Santi Cazorla over the left, as we've seen him do many a time. So it could be that Arsene Wenger's just looking at it and thinking, I've taken £100,000 off of the wage bill by getting rid of Podolski, frees me up to go after the targets that I want, which is more defensive and defensive midfielder. And on the defensive midfielder subject, there's a defensive midfielder that's been linked with Arsenal today, linked with Arsenal and Manchester United. Listen, a couple of years ago, this guy was considered one of the best defensive midfielders in the world. He's had a lot of injuries, which has really, really set him back. But we're talking about EK Gundogan. He plays for Borussia Dortmund, of course. Top player. The rumours are that they're willing to cash in on him. His contract runs out in 2016. And let's face it, Borussia Dortmund at the moment in real bad shape. They're near the bottom of the league in the Bundesliga. Highly unlikely that they're going to be able to qualify for the Champions League next season unless they win the Champions League. So players like Gundogan, they're not going to want to stick around at a club that's not in the Champions League. Now, again, as I said, Manchester United, very, very interested in him. They need a holding midfielder. And Arsenal, apparently very well, they've been interested in him for a long time. Not sure of what the valuation would be on a player like Gundogan, but will Arsenal take a chance on him? Will they be looking at it and thinking, he's had some horrific injuries recently and we're just fed up of injuries. Do we take a risk on another injury-prone player? Or do they look at it and say, listen, this guy, he was probably amongst in the top 3 defensive midfielders for the whole world. We've got to go in and get him. And I think it'd be a great signing if they went and got somebody like that in this January. But we're going to have to wait and see, and there will be a lot of competition. And whilst we're talking about defensive midfielders, the other player that's been, again, the links came up yesterday, was Moussa Sissoko, Newcastle. We spoke about him yesterday. Again, linked heavily. There were rumours that the L'Equipe newspaper was saying that, Arsenal are in talks with Newcastle about him. Reading more into that story in L'Equipe, I actually had a look at it. They weren't really saying that. They're just really talking about the link. They didn't really say they were in talks. But definitely Arsenal are interested in Sissoko. They've already put in a bid for him, which was turned down. Remember, Newcastle, no manager at the moment. Pardew's just gone and left to go to Crystal Palace. So could this be a deal that could happen? He's Premier League ready. He'd be able to play in the Champions League. It could be a deal that may happen. Whether he's good enough for Arsenal or not, only time will tell. Last one to tell you about is, you're going to get really excited about this one. Really excited. Goes by the name of Teddy Bishop. Yes, I know you've all heard of him. He's another one of those Ipswich youngsters who are playing really, really well at the moment. He's a midfielder, 18 years of age, linked today with Manchester United and Arsenal again. It seems like we seem to be, because those are the two clubs that really need players, we seem to be getting linked with every player going at the moment. But Arsenal apparently very interested in him. He's a very exciting young midfield prospect. Of course, Arsenal have also been linked very heavily with Tyrone Mings, who's also at Ipswich as a defender. Well, today, linked with Teddy Bishop, who, again, as I said, 18 years of age, another youngster. Look, to me, Arsenal at the moment, the players they should be looking to bring in those defensive positions, in those midfielding positions, need a bit of experience. I mean, even though Gundogan's young, he's an experienced player. He's played in the Champions League. He's played at the highest level. He knows what it's all about. I think that is the type of player, or a player like Sissoko maybe, who's got that experience of playing week in, week out in the Premier League. That is a sort of player they probably need to bring in, rather than a youngster. We've seen with a player like Callum Chambers, youngsters come in, they do great, they're really good, but they lack that experience at the highest level and they need to learn their trade. And I think Arsenal, in this January transfer window, it's got to be experienced players they go for. Let's see if I can take a look at a few of the comments that have been coming in. Of course, a lot of fans were reacting yesterday to Podolski leaving the club. And once again, I want to thank everybody who's been leaving comments in the comment sections. It's absolutely amazing the amount of comments we get. Let's look here. Goncalo says, William Carvalho would be good, but too expensive. Now, listen, if we're going to get a player of that caliber, we've got to be willing to pay the money. We know that you're going to have to pay over the odds when you buy a player in January. So if we need that type of player, we need to go out there and bring them in. AJW Drawing says Hummels would be the best. Again, there's been rumours of Hummels leaving. I kind of think that that's more going to happen if he does leave, more in the summer than in January. But I reckon Hummels will definitely be on his way from Borussia Dortmund. They'll be able to cash in on him. It's going to be mega money. Whether Arsenal will be willing to pay that real massive amount of money to bring Hummels in, we'll have to see. We saw how much money that Mangala went for when he went to Manchester City at the start of the season, about 35 million. Hummels, considered a much better player than him, World Cup winner, he's probably going to be about 40 million, which is unheard of for a defender, but it's going to be that sort of crazy money that you're going to have to pay for a player of that caliber. Treasure Frank says, Ozil does not have the defensive qualities to play in the middle. He may have to play out on left where you're going to be even more defensive there. Clarence Ong says, Joel Campbell is Podolski's replacement. Joel Campbell, I don't know, I kind of get the feeling he could be another player on his way out from Arsenal. I really don't think that he is going to be considered the replacement for Podolski. Might see him tomorrow in the FA Cup, but I think long term, no, I just don't think that will be that will happen. I really do think that that's another player who's on his way out from Arsenal. Couple more here. Football Surreal says we could loan Suarez in after with the £100,000 that we've made, and we'll still have money left from the Podolski thing. Samuel Poston, last one here, he says use the wage funds that has been cut, the wages that have been dropped out to buy Hummels. So a lot of you guys interested in bringing in Hummels. Certainly there are some good players available at the moment. It's whether Arsene Wenger is going to be able to push the boat out to bring in what Arsenal need right now. We are in need specifically of defensive positions. And as I said, this is a conundrum now. Now that we sent Podolski out, we saw last week, or should I say a few days ago against Southampton, that we were lacking striking options. I know Giroud was suspended, and also there was the injury to Welbeck, but there was really no other striker. Do we really want to leave ourselves short considering the amount of injuries we got? We've seen what's happened with defenders. Do we want to do that with strikers? Should we bring somebody in? It's getting really interesting in this January transfer window, and all will be revealed as we go on throughout the window. Thanks for watching the show today. Don't forget, we'll be back tomorrow with another Transfer Daily. And of course, we're going to be down there at the game tomorrow, Arsenal versus Hull City in the FA Cup. And you know what? That is a massive game for Arsenal, because it's, let's face it, it's one of the only few things really that we're going to be able to, we have a chance of winning this season. And we are the holders. So there's a lot of expectations on Arsenal going into the FA Cup. So massive game tomorrow against Hull. It's going to be really interesting to see what sort of team we put out. But we'll be down there covering that tomorrow, interviewing all the fans. So make sure you come along if you want to say something. Thanks for watching Transfer Daily, and we'll be back tomorrow.